Jeanette here with the Neal's Homestead. Welcome to our farm. Every year around August the 1st, as close as we can get to August the 1st, we plant about a pound of turnip seeds and about a pound of daikon radish seeds out in one of our patches. We have a couple different purposes, maybe three I'll say. One is to sell them. The other is to eat them, and then another is to make them as a ground cover or a plow down mulch. And today is the day that we're going to go out there and pick some of these turnips for our own use that we will put in storage. And I want to show you our method of storing turnips over the winter. And thanks for coming along. You can't always tell by the size of the tops what the turnip's going to look like. This top looks really big and lush. But when I got down in there, this is a small turnip. I know it's a little bit hard to tell in perspective, but it's a much smaller turnip than what I want, although I will keep it. There are obvious signs that something's been eating the tops off of some of these, and I believe it's deer. I have seen a couple spots where there were deer droppings. Right there is a deer track. I think this turnip patch is kind of across a deer highway. They like to walk across here. Here's what a daikon radish looks like. They're white. This one's turned a little green from being in the light, but they're really long and they can get huge, like 3 feet long if they're in the right conditions. Well, I made it down to the east end of the patch where we haven't picked before because we've always picked over on the other end that's closer to where we need to haul it. And I'm finding some huge ones down here.
The turnips down on this end of the garden are quite a bit nicer than they were most of the way down through there. Very big.
This ground right next to the turnip patch has been freshly plowed, and it won't be long till this patch is also plowed for the winter. Plow under that, the turnips, the greens, and everything. It's my opinion that the faster the turnip grows, the better it is. And so I like to get ones that are big and that grew fast. If they grow slowly and get big, they're not so good. But I know the ones that we picked today grew fast, and so I think that they're the best. And I brought one in, a gigantic one in, to cook for lunch, and we're just going to give it a test to see if my theory holds up, at least to me. I'm just going to use a potato peeler and peel it off. There seems to be a couple of different layers on here. It's really just one layer, but it's thicker than you might think. It's the outer layer that's purple, but then there's another layer that goes a little deeper, and I try to get most of that outer part off because I think it's got a little toughness to it. If you can get down to the underneath flesh, it's better. After I've gotten part of it off, I'll cut the top off a little better so I can, maybe I should have done this in the first place. And the bottom. This thing is really big. I'm going to see how it goes with this knife. I might have to get a big butcher knife. Okay, first thing I want to check is whether this is what I call pithy or if it's solid. This is solid. One thing about if they grow too slowly and get big, a lot of times they'll get squishy in here, kind of spongy, and that ruins the quality of the turnip. You want it nice and solid inside. I'm just going to cut these up like I would cut up potatoes that I'm going to mash, in size pieces that will cook pretty quickly. I'll put a little bit of water in there, like maybe a cup. I don't want to cover it, but I want it to have enough in there to cook them without it boiling dry. Just cook them till they're fork tender, and that happens pretty fast, like in 15 minutes. I'll drain the water off of that, put some, I already put some salt on it. I'll put maybe a little bit more salt on it and some butter, and we'll have that for lunch.
That's very good. First year I've ever really enjoyed cooked turnips, but this year they are good. We brought some fresh picked turnips over here to store for our own use. Store our turnips in sawdust. We're putting in sawdust, and we want to layer below the turnips and between the turnips and over the top of them. The top down when we're storing them like this, because if light gets to them to the top, it will start growing again, and we don't want them to grow, we just want to preserve them. We got a second layer of turnips in the box. We're going to cover them again with sawdust, and then they'll be ready to store in a dry, cool place.
As we fill them, we try to sift the sawdust down in between the turnips good, so that it's all filled up. And we try not to let anything show on top, because if light gets to it, then it will want to grow again. It'll want to grow a new top, and then your turnips start getting soft. I like the really big turnips. I think they're good, but they do take up a lot of room in the tub. And we might actually, in the long run, be able to get more turnips in here if we use smaller ones.
Brought our turnips with the sawdust over down here. We're going to apply a little bit of water to each case of them, so they won't dehydrate too badly and don't get too wet and drown either. So we're just going to give them a little shot of water, see how they work.
As a child, there were multiple times that I heard the story that my grandmother told about one winter whenever they didn't have much to eat for some reason. I don't remember the reason, but that they ate turnips all winter long, and that's their main food that they subsisted on. And the funny thing is that even as an adult, I remember that she still liked turnips. So, in case hard times hit this year, we've got some turnips to eat, and they're put away, and I know, because we've done this before, that they'll keep well. And so we appreciate you stopping and visiting with us today, and we'll see you next time.